You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. So say good night to the bad guy. Go on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 251 Fight Island, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. We're going to talk about 3 free plays that we have on this card. Coming off of an event, I was 6-1, 3-0 on client plays, 3-1 on free plays, including a plus 240 winner that the main event would go the distance. Big cash again for us. So far this year, 74% winner overall. Increased clients' bankrolls by 50%. So it's just overall been a great year. Got more plays up on Wagertalk right now. My second ever 5% play released. First one that we had was on Jamal Hill to win. He was a minus 135 winner in a first round knockout. Got clients to cash in there. Have another 5% play that is up. 150% wager bucks guaranteed play. Definitely check that out, as well as an additional package I put up there for clients as well. So 2 packages. Definitely check that out on Wagertalk. But we are going to be talking about some free plays here. We've got 3 of them that we've got loaded here to discuss, to talk about. And of course, I definitely want to first talk about the main event. I've got 2 plays on the main event that I do want to talk about here. So I guess let's get into the first part of this, and we're going to talk about the main event of UFC 251 is Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Now, this was a big change here. I was done capping the Usman versus Burns fight. That was something that I very excited about. And actually, I know a lot of money and things were going on to Usman. People were looking to bet Usman as the line was moving. I actually was going to come on this show and tell you why I like Gilbert Burns to go out there and win. I like the plus money on him. Many things I like. This fight actually may happen if, Usman comes out victorious here. Who knows what's going to be going on. Maybe my capping changes. I don't know what's going to be going on with the COVID virus that, with Burns, hopefully health and all these other things that go into all of that. But I like Burns for many reasons. And, we're not going to get into all of that now, but that was where my play was going to go. Had to go back in and recap this fight with Masvidal. His skill set, very different to what Burns would bring to the table here. So really the first thing we're going to talk about is the defending champion, Kamaru Usman. We've got the line right now, minus 300, somewhere around there. You've got Masvidal ranging around the plus 230 range. But we're going to, again, go down 3 of the past fights, break down the fights, and again, I like to do a deep dive in these, what we see, what we like. Can one fighter expose the other fighter? And does the line make sense to bet at the end of all of that? And we tie it all together. So the first we're talking about, again, is Kamaru Usman. 3 fights ago, he fought Rafael dos Anjos. Now, this was a fight here where, Dos Anjos is a great fighter. Been in the UFC for a while, had some ups, had some downs, had some good spots where he looked, championship level. But overall in his last 5 fights, he's 1-4. And that's something that where Usman was really able to go in there and just ragdoll Dos Anjos. There was not much ability that you really saw that Dos Anjos was kind of pushing out, working combinations from the outside, was able to get Usman off of him. Usman just had that great pressure, and you'll see, and we're going to go down that, you'll see when he's got those openings and those opportunities to utilize his wrestling against somebody that maybe doesn't have the greatest wrestling, that's the kind of thing that Usman really fits perfectly with. And in that fight, overall, throughout the 3 rounds, it was all Usman. He was overwhelming. He's got that great cardio that he can keep pushing forward. His striking is starting to elevate a little bit better. But overall, he goes in this fight, really puts a whooping, lopsided decision victory for Usman, utilizing that wrestling, utilizing his strength, and pushing forward with that pressure and getting himself a victory. So that was a victory for Usman against Rafael dos Anjos. 2 fights ago, he fought Tyron Woodley. Now, this is a fight here where you've got two wrestlers, two guys with those ground credentials, strength. You've got Woodley who has shown power in the past, and Usman again. The striking is you're starting to see it evolve, maybe a little bit more. But in this fight here, this was another ragdolling performance from Kamaru Usman. I thought this was very impressive how he actually was able to put this fight together, because Woodley is a guy, again, got the wrestling, but how easy that Usman took Woodley down just over and over and over. And you saw even Gilbert Burns did the exact same thing. Kind of that path to victory now against Woodley is Woodley, his strength looks out of it. He doesn't look like that big monster that he used to be back a couple years ago. Not saying he did PEDs or any of these other things, but he definitely doesn't have that shape that he used to be. Whether he's getting older in his career, maybe. But Usman just came in looking sensational, in shape. And had a great strategy, just pushing forward, putting it together, easy top control. There was nothing that Woodley even was able to do throughout that fight. Even when he was on his back, Woodley just did not have the ability to get up. Now, could you say, is that Usman, or is it Woodley's lack now of just strength and able to get up, or is he not motivated enough? But this was just a great showing over for Woodley. I'm sorry, for Usman. Goes out there, gets top control, keep top control, ground and pound, gets a decision victory. He goes out there and beats Tyron Woodley. And then most recently, which is a fight we're going to dive a little bit more into, is Usman versus Colby Covington. This was the most recent fight for him. This was a great fight, and stylistically, I think this is an interesting fight, because you look at two guys who have great wrestling backgrounds, who have high volume, big output, and both have sensational cardio. I mean, without a doubt, you've got Covington, who can consistently put that pressure on, and that's a big tool of his, is that the cardio is there, the output is there. He doesn't go out there and look for the big bomb and look for the big finish. Covington's gonna get you with just grappling, get you down, you get back up, he gets you back down, he gets you up, throws some combinations, works you against the cage, tries to get you back down. Over a 5-round fight, a lot of fighters just don't have that ability, or even a 3-round fight, have the ability to just keep pushing forward and keep that pressure consistent throughout the entire fight. And you do see in this position that Usman absolutely has that. So in this fight here, that first round, I thought, you know what, these guys hate each other. There's no doubt, no secret there. And they came out firing. The thing here also is that both of them, I would say, have very similar striking pedigree, where, they're both starting to elevate, they both have fantastic wrestling, and they're starting to both elevate. And you saw in this fight here, they both look good. I thought they both looked sharp. Covington looked really good. I thought Covington, his striking starts to continually get better. I thought in these early spots in this fight, I thought Covington was winning. I thought those first, second round, Covington had the volume, had the pressure, and this was also another spot. We've got two wrestlers who never even wrestled. There was no takedown opportunity. There was nobody looking for the takedown. There was nobody looking to, clinch up. It was pretty much a boxing match in a cage fight. And that's, I'm kind of confused that neither of them went with it. Maybe the other one respects the other one so much, and they just said, hey, we're going to stand, we're going to bang, we're going to see who's a tougher guy striking than a wrestling match. And as that fight continued to move on, I thought that Covington kept pushing forward nicely. Usman, both of them have slightly basic striking. You don't see many kicks. You don't see many leg kicks. You don't see many body kicks. Combinations, you're not seeing anything too flashy. A lot of 1-2 combinations, a lot of movement. And a lot of times they just stood there and just wung it. They kind of brawled and kind of started winging the shots. Third round, I thought, is when Usman started to put it on a little bit. That, there were some big shots from him. He pushed forward a little bit more, landed some nice shots. That's when you started to see Covington, bust it up a little bit more. His volume went from very high to kind of that middle of the road, and Usman kind of kept pushing forward, kept kind of keeping the guy that actually, who has the cardio, almost out-cardioing Covington, in that middle of that round. But going into that 5th round, I kind of had it, a 3-1. I actually was leaning more towards Covington having the chance to go out there in that last round and either kind of just survive, or at least just have enough to just get the win on the scorecard. So it was very, very close going into that last round. You could argue it was 2-2. Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that it was that close, that you definitely could see that it could go either way. But I had scored it 3-1. But going into that round, I mean, Usman really pressed it. I mean, and all of a sudden, that's where you saw Covington's volume even have, at high level that it is, consistently come down. He just didn't have everything on it. And in that 5th round, he really laid it on him. He really kept pushing forward, out-cardioing, again, the cardio machine in Covington. He goes out there, drops him, ground and pound, puts him away there, and Covington says that, it was, a kind of a quick stoppage. Definitely not. I mean, it was pretty much a good stoppage finish there. So in that fight there, you've got Kamaru Usman beating Covington, and that was a TKO win in the 5th round. Now you've got Jorge Masvidal here. Now, this is a totally different situation that you're talking about against somebody where he was facing Gilbert Burns. And Burns, multiple, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, great ground game, really has elevated his striking. And Masvidal has a ground game. That's definitely something people don't talk about. He definitely has a ground game, but he's just tough. He's well-rounded. He's got a lot of great, from ATT, good camp he comes from, and has continued to elevate also, even with some losses on his record, continues to elevate also. So 3 fights ago, he fought Darren Till. This was a great fight here where you've got Darren Till, that big guy, but a guy, again, that's not going to be taking you down. There's going to be no forced opportunities there. There's going to be no chances there. You're going to be seeing Till looking to take it to the ground or even in the clinch. It's going to be more of a kickboxing kind of fight, and that kind of fits into what Masvidal likes to do. In this fight, first shot, I think that even Till threw, he drops Masvidal. Masvidal gets back up and kind of smiles, but gets back up and starts landing some shots. Good exchanges over there overall, and Masvidal kind of came back too after that. Going into that 2nd round, I think is where Masvidal started to read a little bit more of Till. Till really leans heavy on that straight left, the straight left hand. Really leans heavy on that, really tries to set up most of it, throws a jab and then throws a heavy left. That's kind of his 1-2 punch, and it's worked for him in certain spots in his career. But someone like Masvidal was really starting to pick that apart, seeing when it's coming, countering those shots. And you saw in that 2nd round, he threw a nice combination, completely obliterated Till. Till goes down. Masvidal goes out there and gets a knockout win. Tough to take something away completely from that fight going into Usman, because Usman obviously is more of a wrestling style compared to Masvidal. But there you have it there. Masvidal gets a knockout victory. Then you got 2 fights ago. Ben Askren, we're not going to get too much into this. Ben got obliterated in 5 seconds by a flying knee. Quickest knockout in UFC history. But can't really say much there. Now, that's kind of a fight I would have liked to have seen more of. You've got the wrestler there. I mean, Ben's able to go in there, wrestle, get you down. It would have been interesting to see how he does against those takedowns. Didn't happen. Quick knockout for Jorge Masvidal. And then most recently, the BMF belt was on the line against Nate Diaz. And this was a great fight here. And this, again, showed the style that Masvidal has. And Masvidal, again, is a tough fighter. Going forward, has the volume, a lot of great things here. But again, this Nate Diaz fight pretty much fit very well into what Masvidal does. Nate Diaz has a ground game overall, but likes to stand. And in this spot here, you know what? Right away, you saw what Masvidal can do when he stands. And he was able to drop Nate Diaz early with the head kick, got on top of him, busted him up. He kind of was standing as Nate Diaz was on the ground, worked some nice ground and pound, cut up Nate Diaz early, which I think was a complete game changer in this fight, that Nate Diaz was busted open so early. That was when pretty much you just kind of saw Diaz's output go down. Even his aggressive style, that went down. I mean, that's a big thing with Nate, is he's almost like a Covington kind of fighter, or both of them are very similar, that they don't look to land a big bomb. It's just heavy volume, big output, and if he's able to out-cardio you and you get tired, those are the things that he did actually with McGregor, just big-time cardio, a big-time output, and doesn't let you rest. In this spot here, he was hurt early. That was a big opportunity for Masvidal to keep pushing forward. Landed some big shots. Even in that, round 2, it was all Masvidal. Round 3, it was all Masvidal again. Out striking, out landing, out combinations, moving, circling. I thought he looked really well, but again, a standing match in that spot. So it was a doctor stoppage at the end of that 3rd round, which gave Jorge Masvidal the BMF belt and got him the victory. So with that all being said, we know that, Usman, he's got the exceptional wrestling. He's got that elite wrestling. He's very strong. And he's great with top control. And that is something that I think could be utilized again in this fight. Masvidal has the ability. He's got good takedown defense. He is well-rounded. It's not like he can't handle himself on the ground, but prefers to stand and strike. And you've got the slick boxing of Masvidal. Masvidal has that slick boxing. He's got, again, great output, lots of experience going into this fight, well-rounded, good kicks overall. He throws a nice body kick. But the thing for me here, and I think the biggest difference that goes into this fight, is how can Usman really change the pace of what Masvidal likes to do? And I think I think the biggest path to victory, and I'm probably not telling you something you don't know, is going to be the wrestling. And that's going to be something that the big thing for me, and going back a couple more fights prior to the Till fight, was Demian Maia going against Masvidal. And this was a fight here I thought was the most telling sign, because that was the most recent fight that we saw Masvidal in a wrestling kind of environment. And Masvidal was, he kind of held his ground. He kind of, was able to fend off some takedowns. Maia is not the best with takedowns. I mean, he could grab a limb and choke you out, or those kind of things where he can kind of drag you to the ground, or he pulls guard. He doesn't have that big takedown ability to drag you to the ground, ragdoll you the way that Usman is. And even in the situation where you're talking about a 40-year-old fighter in Demian Maia, was able to take down Masvidal, was able to get him to the ground, was able to dictate the pace of the fight, get top control, get even his back a few times, and Masvidal was, did well. Masvidal definitely did well, but the strength of Maia is not there. I would give it more to Masvidal, so that's kind of why that happened. But pretty much in that fight against Maia, it was, first round there was a takedown. I think second round he had his back. Third round was all Maia, where he was on top of him, ground and pounding, and Masvidal couldn't actually do anything to escape. That, for me here, is a huge tell that Kamaru Usman has an absolute path to victory in this fight. Now, I've got two plays that there's going to be a prop, and then there's also going to be a play, and I'm obviously on Kamaru Usman here. The price is starting to tick up here, but the short notice, 6 days notice, I give Masvidal a lot of credit. He's going to go guns blazing, I think, and I don't see that Usman is the big finisher here. So I'm going to be betting Kamaru Usman to win in this spot, but I'm also going to be taking Kamaru Usman via decision at plus 150. Now, that line is kind of ticked around a little bit. I've seen it even at plus 175 in certain books, but this is a spot here where you're getting off the bigger number and you're sprinkling a little something on the decision. Now, I think in this spot here, I think that Usman is going to be able to push forward. I think he's going to have a lot of cardio. He's going to be able to really get the opportunity to control certain positions up against the fence. Even if he gets him to the ground, I think Masvidal is good enough where he can survive on the ground. And Usman is not a finisher on the ground, where I think a lot of that is going to be happening. I think more reminiscent of what happened with Woodley, where Woodley kind of was able to survive. Usman's not able to really put the stamp on it as a great ground and pounder. Maybe he's elevated in this, since his last few fights, possibly. But I think this is a great spot to take Usman by decision. So my two free plays on this particular fight, we're going to talk about one more play in a minute, is Kamaru Usman to win, and then also Kamaru Usman to win via decision plus 150. The other fight we're going to be talking about is the co-main event, and that's going to be Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. This is going to be a great fight here. It is the second time that these two fought. Most recently, Volkanovski took the title from Holloway in a very entertaining fight, a decision fight, and we're going to dive into this right away. So we're going to talk about the line right now. We've got Alexander Volkanovski is a minus 215. You've got Max Holloway roughly around the plus 175 range. And again, quickly, I'll try to go through each three of these fights. We got Volkanovski here, and obviously we're going to dive more into, at the end of these two, dive into their actual last fight that they both had against each other. So 3 fights ago, Chad Mendes fought Alexander Volkanovski. This fight I'm not going to dive into here. I thought that Chad landed some nice shots early, but what, again, Volkanovski was able to do, big volume, push forward. He's got some power. He's got some pop in his hands, and he was able to go forward, get the knockout victory in that second round. I thought he looked very good. He hunted for that finish at the end. Again, Chad Mendes, known fighter, has not really been to where he used to be, I guess I should say, at this point in his career, but Volkanovski goes out there and gets the knockout victory. 2 fights ago, he fought Jose Aldo. Now, this is a great fight. And this is a fight here where I think you really start to see Volkanovski put a lot together. And Aldo came in great shape, big time, kind of fighter where this could be a great stylistic matchup for Aldo going against somebody like Volkanovski. The leg kicks, things that he does, the combinations that Aldo works, should be a nice fight for him. And Volkanovski fought brilliantly. I thought the way that he moved, the game plan was dead on. He was able to really almost confuse Aldo. There were spots in that fight where Aldo just couldn't pull the trigger. He was not out there. He was not firing. And again, his low volume is always something very concerning about Aldo. He does not, I think it's one time that he's been over 100 significant strikes in one bout in the UFC, so that says a lot there, but Volkanovski kept pushing forward. He had certain issues, I think, with Aldo. Aldo certain issues with Volkanovski, really gauging the distance, the circling, the volume of Volkanovski. I thought, again, he just unloaded and was able to just a sweeping victory. Aldo looked out of shape, and I think the way that he fought there is something that he really took into the first fight against Max Holloway. But in that fight there, Volkanovski gets a unanimous decision over Aldo, and Volkanovski gets that victory. I will talk about Max Holloway after we talk about their first fight, after we talk about Max Holloway's last 2 fights. So 2 fights ago, Max Holloway fought Dustin Poirier. This is a fight here that I think is the most concerning fight when you talk about Max Holloway. Now, Max Holloway before this was, I think, very much talking about moving up moving up a division. Talking about it being a 2 or 3 division champion. A lot of things that he was talking about here. In this fight against Poirier, Poirier just poured on the power. And you see the difference in the power between Holloway and Poirier in this fight. Going up in weight, it just showed so much. Dustin's boxing is elite level. His hand speed, we just saw what he did against Dan Hooker. The way he circles, the way he moves, a lot of great things that Dustin Poirier does. And pretty much Poirier walked Holloway down, was okay actually taking the shots from Holloway because it just wasn't the level of Poirier. Poirier goes out there, he pretty much dominates the fight. A lot of people said it was a little bit closer than it was. I don't think so. It was a great showing overall, walking down Max Holloway, going out there, getting the decision victory. So that was a decision victory for Poirier, and Holloway does get the loss there. And then 2 fights ago, he fought Frankie Edgar. And this is another situation where, again, I just don't like what I saw from Max Holloway. Yes, he went out there and he beat Frankie Edgar. Yes, he did. Good showing. It was an easy decision victory for him. But it wasn't the old Max Holloway. And the reason I'm saying that is that he didn't really look to put a stamp on the fight. He kind of played it safe, stayed outside, kept the 1-2 combinations. I understand that Frankie, has the wrestling credentials to possibly take it to the ground, but just the way the fight was going, it was just so one-sided that he never really pushed forward. I think that is something, again, that coming off of the Dustin fight where he was really beaten up, I think that he played it a little bit more safe. And I think that's what happened going into the Volkanovski first fight when he lost his title against him. So that's the fight we're going to talk about last here, is the first fight between Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski. This was a fight where, again, coming off of those other 2 things, I just have the issue with how he fought. And this fight here, it was the same thing. There was points where Volkanovski, in that first round overall, Volkanovski had the volume, pushed forward. A lot of things that Max used to do. Max used to have that volume, used to have that tenacity to push forward, wanting to mix it up. Okay with standing toe-to-toe. You've seen him multiple times looking to stand toe-to-toe because he felt he had that power. And I think after that loss from Dustin, he started to rethink that strategy and playing it a little bit more safe. And you saw overall how Volkanovski landed a mass amount of leg kicks in that spot. And the guy's got tree trunks for legs, and he was just hammering down on Max, which completely changed the fight. Max can shift from southpaw to orthodox. He's very comfortable doing that, but not when he has a banged up leg. And Volkanovski just chopped away at the front leg, forced Max to switch, and when he had to start switching, it changed up a lot of things. Even off of Volkanovski would throw a jab, end it with a leg kick. Throw a combination, end it with a leg kick. Start a combination with a leg kick, then start throwing combinations up top. So he really, a masterful performance from Volkanovski overall. Late you saw that there was Max may have won a round or two, but overall, it was all Volkanovski in that fight there. So, with that all being said, you had Volkanovski go out there and ended up winning the featherweight title. Now, with that being said, we've got Volkanovski. He's got the strength. He's got power. He's got good cardio, good output. And you've got Max Holloway, who's well-rounded. Again, another guy who normally has some good output, normally has some nice combinations. But the thing here, I think that the pressure that Max is used to has started to push back in the fight like this because of the leg kicks and the vulnerability that he pretty much didn't check a leg kick in that fight against Volkanovski. And yes, that's going to be something he'll probably be more in tune to, but I don't like that going into this fight for Max Holloway. At this price, you've got him again. He's minus 200, minus 215, somewhere in there, Volkanovski. I actually like this. I think that Volkanovski fought so well that he's going to be able to have that blueprint. I think the blueprint with Poirier, how that fight really went down, how even the Frank Yeager fight went down, where he pretty much did not put the gas down and look to finish, and even in the fight against Volkanovski, kind of the same thing until later on in the fight. I think Volkanovski goes out there, gets this victory. I think that it's very hard for Max. You see Max actually a lot. He's streaming video games constantly. Now, I'm not saying that he's not training, but he has been in the game a long time, and he's 28, 29 years old, whatever he is now. He's still young within the game, but could he have other ventures going on? Possibly, but Volkanovski has a chip on his shoulder. He's going out there, could go out there and defeat the greatest featherweight of all time, arguably. You've got Aldo too there, but going out there and put a stamp on it in 2 straight fights, this is a huge performance for him. Volkanovski's hungry. I think he implements another great strategy, and I don't really see spots where Max can really pick up the pace. And the way that Max fights, I think, falls into the strengths of Volkanovski. So I will be betting Alexander Volkanovski to win minus 215. So those are my 3 free plays for UFC 251. We've got Kamaru Usman. We've got Kamaru Usman by decision. And then we also have Alexander Volkanovski to win. So those are my 3 free plays. Check out my 2 packages up on Wagertalk. Take a look, link down in the description, and we've got a lot of events coming up here, so I'm figuring out will I have time to do a prediction show a bet review show for UFC 251? Am I just gonna release client plays on Wednesday or Monday for the Wednesday event, and then maybe Thursday for the Saturday following event? So stay, check me out up on Twitter at Kyle Anthony UFC. I'll have updates of kind of when I'm gonna be dropping all these things, how I'm gonna be doing it. So there you have it. So I will see you on the next show, and this is Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show, and I'll see you next time.